Hey, welcome back to Power Crit, everybody. I'm Corin, and I'm not going to be your dungeon master because this is going to be a roundtable question and answer thingy-mabopper.
Hey!
Woo!
It's our first Q&A.
Yeah. With me today are 4 players?
Participants. Discussioners.
Discussionarians.
Board good friends.
Good friends. 4 good friends. They are...
Kayla. I was about to say, and I'm playing, and I realized I am not playing anyone. I am just Kayla today. Wow. Okay.
And I'm Ender.
I'm Ashlyn.
And I'm David.
What we're going to do is we are going to answer some questions in order of general to different campaigns. So we're going to start with general questions.
And some of these questions are submitted by fans as well as some questions that we had ourselves for others, right?
Right. Thank you. And we will shout you out. First name only.
Identities will be safe here.
Let's start with some general questions. Who would like to ask the question first?
I want to ask a question first.
Okay.
So, Ander.
Yeah.
I'm going to go in a crazy order here.
Crazy order.
So, are you a TTRPG system dragon? And how many different TTRPG rule sets do you own?
Yeah, so this is the thing that we've kind of joked about and talked about, because Ashlyn is definitely a dice dragon. So she's got a collection and a hoard there. But jumping off that, my hoard that I'm collecting is RPG systems, and I'm going to say yes. I was going through my catalog, because I have a catalog, this morning, and updated it, and I'm about at 105.
Woo, nice.
So that includes quick starts and some solo games, things like that, but they're all playable.
I have to ask.
Yeah.
They are all playable. Have you played them all?
No. Just like any self-respecting dragon, you collect them because they're shiny. And so lots of things that look cool, look fun. I have read through most of them. Granted, those are the ones that I could find because there are definitely hidden gems out there in my file systems between drive-through RPG. I have a lot of drive-through RPG. Most of them are PDFs. I do have a few physicals, but I've got a lot of them. And if we have time at the end, I can run through the list in rapid fire.
All right.
Oh, man.
Like the Pokemon music.
Yeah.
Can I interject a question into that one?
Yeah.
So, having played with you for a while, Ander, I don't know if you have a count, but you've made a lot or several of them, right? Like, I know that you've worked on several TTRPGs rule sets.
So I have tinkered around with iterations on 1 or 2, and I like poking at rules. I'm not like an expert by no means, but I like seeing how things work. And we did a test recording of one that might see the light of the day someday. About space cheese is what we called it. Kind of a gonzo sci-fi setting, uses 2d10 on kind of a mixed result ladder that like powered by the apocalypse. And it's just fun and goofy, and maybe we'll show it someday. I gotta test it out more and kind of work out the kinks, because I want to do more with it. We had some fun characters. So in answer to your question, like, I think 2 on the list are ones that I've made.
Okay.
Yeah, Space Cheese, what we tested was really fun. Still definitely in the works, but
yeah,
it was a lot of fun to test through. All right, Ashlyn, who's going next, and which way are we going around the table?
Pick me.
Okay, Ander goes next.
So Corin, this one came from one of our listeners, Steven.
Hi, Steven. Thank you.
What made you first decide to DM?
Well, I watched about 400 hours of Critical Role, then diligently and totally not creepily studied David as he DM'd his year-long Curse of Strahd campaign. At that point, I felt, maybe I could run something. And I ran the Welcome to Robeck campaign, which ran for 2 years with...
Do you remember our nickname for Welcome to Robeck?
Mm-mm.
Big Trouble in Little Corel.
Oh, yeah, Big Trouble in Little Corel.
I was going to say, I forgot that it was called Welcome to Robeck. I remembered Big Trouble in Little Corel.
Yeah, Big Trouble in Little Corel, that's right.
Or B-Tilk.
Yeah, B-Tilk. And Corel was kind of like Disneyland, so they all ended up in Disneyland and working for Disneyland, who had this ancient power they were keeping secret, but on top was on Disneyland. Anyway, it was really silly and really fun, I hope.
Oh, I loved it. I would so go back to it if you picked it up again.
I learned a lot running that game, a lot of things what to do and what not to do. But after doing that, 2020 hit, and we went virtual for a little bit, tried to get back into the swing of it, but just didn't really work out. But when kind of in the middle of 2020, when I was going a little crazy from all the isolation, I contacted Ashlyn and David, Kayla, and Ander and said, hey, I'm really bored. You want to do a podcast? And they said yes. And so that's how all of this came to be.
That's when we learned that none of us have a social life. and so we could all make a social life bubble where we could all verify that none of us had the plague. And because we're all so unsocial, we all knew that we were safe.
Yes.
I don't know if I would say we're unsocial because we're very social with each other.
Selectively social.
We are selectively social. I accept.
We're very friendly social people. We just don't see other people to do this, it turns out.
We're very
Right.
introverted. That's the key you're looking for.
During the height of COVID, we were fine. And then when things started, opening up again, that's when we all got COVID at the same time. Like twice, I think.
Yeah.
It all just kind of happened all at once. So,
COVID aside.
if we knew one of us had it, we were all going to get it next. So anyway, but yeah, did that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, cool.
Horn, I think you should choose the next person. I think that's going to be our circle
okay.
here.
David.
Yes.
This is also from Steven. Thank you, Steven. It seems like you have a significant history with D&D and other RPGs. How does your experience with past editions and other games impact the way you play 5e?
So as somebody who spends a vast majority of their time as a dungeon master themselves, and, it's an opportunity here at PWC for me to actually be a player, honestly, I think the answer to that is that I'm always designing. And as a result of always designing encounters, always designing adventures, I never feel limited to using what's on the 5e table. I feel comfortable bringing everything from anywhere else to the 5e table. Also, D&D in general has changed a lot over the decades that I've been involved in it. And there are things that we did when I was in high school that would not fly at our current tables. And there are things that happen on our current tables that would have just left everybody agog going, huh? What are you doing? Why would you do this? Like, just, there's been a culture shift over, the generation or so.
So it's not just mechanics, but just like the style of play.
Right. We don't get into debates and arguments which are then settled by one character attempting to murder the other character.
Right.
And when that does happen, everybody kind of, says, whoa, what are we doing here? We can't have your character fighting his character. That shouldn't happen. That's bad vibes. But that was kind of flavor of the week when I was, growing up. Like, that's just kind of part of the game where I learned.
Can I ask a question on top of that? Was that just because you were younger, or was that legitimately like the flavor of D&D at the time?
So I had a great opportunity during COVID to be a dungeon master for a group of high schoolers virtually through Zoom. It was
specifically high school boys.
Yes, specifically high school boys, which means that they were less gender diverse than our group was in my high school. We had about 50-50 boys and girls there. And the short answer is that they do just fly into certain ideas and say, let's go with it. And that you could definitely see, that doesn't change. Like, teenage boys are like, all right, we're doing this now. And they go into it, wholeheartedly. But there was a certain degree of, I'll call it, savagery in the game that has changed. And part of that is going to be because I don't encourage it as a DM. I never have really. And part of it is just generational, and how you approach the game. I think it just, has really changed a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely changed in the last 10 years since the 5e first came out, from what I understand. So also, is it safe to say, because Ashland's a dice dragon, Ander is a systems dragon, are you kind of like a rules dragon? Because you like to pull rules from other places.
I think that's just called being an old beard.
I was gonna say a forever DM.
Yeah,
DM.
what's the term for it? When a long beard, or there's a term for it. I can't remember.
No, I'm losing Skyrim.
Yeah, okay, yeah, gray beard.
Sure.
I'm old.
You're an OG.
I mean, I'm not OG. I started in 3rd edition. My DM started in 2nd edition and would periodically pull the old rules out to make fun of them for us.
Awesome. So
Sweet.
Okay,
David asks
question?
next.
Kayla,
Yes.
there's a bit of a running joke that you roll really well, that you critically hit your opponent, crush them, and leave poor Corin weeping that her carefully designed encounters got slaughtered rapidly and without a fair chance to show off how cool they are. How did this start?
You know, initiative rolls aside.
Oh my goodness.
Kayla is a crit dragon. She wants crits.
You're just
There-
trying to send
oh.
everyone to the dragon roll here.
Dragons are cool.
I mean, I love dragons.
We're playing Dungeons and Dragons. We're dragons.
Goes with the
Except for when
territory.
we're not.
Yeah.
So I guess I kind of want to farm this out to the rest of you guys. Like, where, because honestly, until I saw this question, I didn't really think that I actually rolled a lot of crits.
So it started out as an inside joke, definitely from a home game that we did that David ran. We called it our Death's Door campaign.
We were like level 16 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
we
were
started at
really
like
high.
15. We finished at like 17 or so. But you were playing
Yeah.
like a champion fighter. And so you
Right.
were already getting like additional crits at like other dice rolls.
So
You were
I
consistently rolling high.
that character's name was Alice, and I remember that she was a fighter champion, as you pointed out. I specifically made her to crit.
Oh, okay. So
Right.
she was a
So-
crit fisher.
She was a crit fisher, so she had reduced. I can't remember how low it got. I think by the end I was rolling 18, 19, or 20s would crit.
I think you got down to 17.
Okay, I made
Because-
I can't remember.
Because
I doubt I would have given her a weapon that increased her crit range.
Okay.
well, the champion increases that range, right?
Yeah, but I
No,
don't think they
the
get to 17
champion
until
only
level
gets to-
20.
I think the champion only gets down to 18.
Oh, gotcha.
And then on top of that, I tried to give myself advantage with my attacks. So I had like 3 or 4 attacks. I actually lost count of how many attacks I had halfway through.
And then a bajillion action surges by that point.
Action surges. And so I was getting like advantage. I had a halberd. So anything that came at me, I would attack. And then there were just so many advantages I was trying to stack. So it probably really looked like I just was critting every single roll. So I think
Yeah.
that's where it started.
I think that's where the joke started. I think and where it solidified, because I think in the Curse of Strahd campaign we did, you were also really rolling really well as your warlock.
Okay,
Right.
I
Cinnamon,
couldn't remember that
You
one.
rolled really well as Cinnamon, but you weren't critting quite as much,
Except
But-
for your horse.
except for your horse. Yeah, you failed on the
I
horse.
still, David, am upset that you made me kill my horse with the backlash of a spell.
Yep.
Oh.
It's been like 6 years.
She armor of Agathist herself.
The T-Rex hit me. The horse fell down on top of me.
Oh, that's right. The horse fell down on top of you and it triggered
The
Yep.
armor of
the
Agathis.
armor of Agathis and killed it.
Which was doing 5 to 10 damage points.
And horses don't have that much HP.
No, they don't.
No.
No,
No, I named that horse too. I don't name a lot of things. I named that horse.
it's true.
You know, I forgot my mother's lesson. You don't kill the horse.
So I think it has to start from there. Like, I think it's just been an inside joke since Alice,
Yeah.
basically. And
We
then
just keep it alive.
I was actually talking with David about it earlier, and I think the other thing is that I celebrate my crits so much because I was playing Baldur's Gate 3 with my family the other day because it's a 4-player or you can have co-op on it. And so I was playing with my family, and I realized like my brother will crit because he's a rogue, and so he's over there critting and whatever. He doesn't say anything. He's like, whatever. And then I'm over there, and every single time I crit, I'm like, yes, and I crit and I crit again, and take that. And so I think that probably also feeds into it because
Very vocal about your successes.
I am very vocal about my successes.
You celebrate your successes.
Yes.
You know,
as you
that's
should
not a bad
be.
thing.
So yeah, I think that's probably where it came from. Between the two of those, I think it just kind of comes out.
It's definitely just a running gag. It doesn't necessarily mean that you always crit excessively well all the time.
Kayla has a very, very lucky streak of rolling really, really high. I think that's kind of where it started from.
So you know what? I think it solidified during the fight with
Long Dead Rosa.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it solidified in that because that was a 1v1 fight and it was not meant to be easy.
Yeah, you should have died. But I was rolling really bad. I'm like, oh crap, Kayla's the one that
That'll
stood
do it.
up. She's gonna. I have terrible luck. She has great luck.
I am still upset you pulled him from that fight. I thought I probably could have finished it.
That's what the module said to do.
I know.
But you know what? You got your chance again later.
It's true, I did.
Did I ever tell you how low HP he got to?
No, how low?
He was at 4 HP.
Oh, wow.
Oh my gosh.
Are you? Oh
But you
my.
critted. And so like
Yes, I did.
I think he started with like 35, 37 hit points and you just kept damaging
Oh my
him so
gosh.
hard. But once he reached halfway, he's supposed to stop the fight. But you hit him so hard that you well surpassed that halfway point and got him down to 4.
That's amazing. That's the first time you've told us this.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
And for reference, you're not supposed to win that fight. It has a lot more written up for if you lose the fight.
Yes. Literally, there's like the little like sentence at the bottom that says, if they happen to kill Long Dead Rosa, another blue half dragon shows up at the castle at the end.
With the exact same
With the
stats.
exact same stats. And
How convenient.
So I have a question for you, Ashlyn. So this is also from Steven. This is a question about, let's see, Izzy and Val. So your characters, both Izzy and then from, I guess, both the campaigns of Hoard the Dragon Queen.
Both our
and-
main campaigns, yes.
Yep. And Val from PARCS are pretty creative and make jewelry and tools. Do you consider yourself crafty and it comes out in your characters?
So I had to laugh when I saw this question because, yes, I am crafty. It definitely wasn't intentional that it came out in the characters. But yeah, I definitely enjoy like creating things. I have a lot of experience like cross stitching, and I've done like those painting classes, like the wine and sip painting stuff, although I don't do the wine. And I like to look at colors and like put things together and things like that. So yeah, I definitely think that creative side definitely comes out in both Izzy and Val. And it is interesting though, because I don't know if I've had other characters prior to them that have focused on that aspect. So it's cool. But yes, thank you for the question, Stephen. So, continuing our round, Ander, how long have you been playing TTRPGs?
So it sounds like relatively similar time frame as David, though I think he's got a few years on me. I started in 2007, so it's been about 17 years. But I've been around the hobby for pretty much my whole life. I grew up watching my dad run games for his siblings. Granted, they were playing like Gamma World and Space 1889, which is like Victorians in space. So going to Mars and the moon and things like that, and dealing with the native population there. So it's always been something that I've been interested in, and it was about high school that I started playing, and it was like right before 4th edition came out. So I played one session of 3.5. I had a halfling ranger, and then things just devolved, and we never played again after that. But I bought all the 4th edition books, as many as I could. I read them vociferously, played like a handful of sessions again, and didn't do a lot of like D&D stuff. But I did do some pretty freeform role-playing via chat with some of my friends in high school. So like we would, it was mostly just like, hey, I do this, I do that. So role-play focused, and then we started to work in like a D20 every once in a while if things were really unsure. And then David and I and a handful of other friends actually started up a group, and that's kind of how this group kind of grew from that for the podcast.
We started up Dark Matter.
Yeah, which was a
homebrewed chaos. At least on my end.
Yeah, I mean, you're the one running it, and it was a sci-fi game based off grabbing pieces of Old World of Darkness. Is that right?
Yeah, it was loosely based on the Old World of Darkness system, very loosely, with lots and lots and lots of homebrew to turn it into a science fiction setting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a lot of fun with it. Since then, mostly played a lot of 5e. I've picked up recently Powered by the Apocalypse games like Monster of the Week, Shadow Dark, and Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and those are the ones that I've mostly played. I have certainly read a bunch of them, but haven't had a lot of opportunity. So, been playing games for a long time, but like, long time for me as a 31-year-old. All right, so I have another question for Corin.
Yep.
Another one from Stephen. I really appreciate you giving us lots of questions, Stephen.
Yeah,
it's very helpful.
Thank you, Stephen.
Corin, you've run both published adventures and homebrew. Do you have a preference for one over the other?
Yes, I actually do. I did enjoy running Hoard of the Dragon Queen. By the way, we behind the scenes call it Hot Dog because it's HOTDQ and it looks like a hot dog. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed running Hot Dog. It was the first module I've ever run. So you guys got to witness all of the chaos of that as well. DM-wise, though, I think I enjoy running homebrew more. Partly because I have the attention span of a goldfish. And partly because I tend to really stress out if I don't, quote, do it right or do what the book says to do.
Throw the book out the window. It's just suggestions anyways.
Yeah, so I oscillate between, rule cool all the time, or no, we must absolutely follow the books as is. And if you deviate, oh my gosh, I'm lost forever. So I would not have known that had I not run the module. Would I be open to running another module again? Absolutely. I learned a lot through this one, and as a player though, I'm fine with either. I enjoy both.
I think it's really good to, especially as a first-time DM, to go through a module, because having the structure is really useful. Even if you choose to deviate from that, it's nice to have kind of a roadmap and some guidelines on things before you try and create things wholesale.
Some perspective here, just if I can. So, I didn't play or run a module until maybe 5 years ago.
Okay.
I think that Out of the Abyss was the first module I ever participated in seriously, where we actually succeeded in following the module and doing the module. Because we
almost completed the module. I think we left off with one session left.
Oh, well, close enough.
Yeah.
And it was a funny thing. And we talked earlier about, what it was like, when I started, playing Dungeons and Dragons. And this was definitely just a, group specific thing. But I remember at one point, everybody sat down and they were looking through this module that had come out. And everybody was kind of talking about it like, oh, it has some good ideas, but why would you ever run somebody else's stuff? And it was just dumbfounding to the people who were there. And I was a junior member at that point. I had not been playing very long, but the DM and all of, his buddies who'd been playing for a while were just confused on why you would ever bother running somebody else's stuff in a module instead of making your own. And that was the environment, I guess, that I grew up in. I didn't actually have a desire to do a module until I really, really appreciated what I saw from the old Curse of Strahd game that they did for 5th edition. And I said, this is so cool that I'm enjoying listening to this via YouTubes and stuff like that. And so I'm going to go out of my way to try and generate that and turn that into a, adventure that I can run for, my own friends. And I'll tell you what, Corin, if you ever look back at that book, you're going to be surprised at how different some things are from what actually happened in our game, because we took all sorts of detours.
Yes, we did.
All sorts.
I think we butted up against almost every single combat that we could have in that, and then just kind of backed off. And by the end of it, I think we were the bad guys. So
No, you guys were the good guys. I don't let you guys play the bad guys.
we made the whole realm dry.
We took away their alcohol.
Yeah, you did do that, yes.
So
And Strahd had to motivate you to, get back on course.
yes, indeed. So going along with this, David,
Yes.
another question from Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. You seem to make use of homebrew rules, which we've been talking about, subclasses, and other things. Where do you find ideas for these?
As a long-term enjoyer of fantasy genres and, fiction in general, with, just doing this my whole life, what I've decided is that if I'm not running a game, then my brain is designing it in the background anyways. And so I just have a closet full of ideas that are just sitting there, and they've got their little fingers, peeking up over the over the box cupboard, and their eyes are just sort of staring at me, and they're like, "David, can I come out? David, can we come out and play? You never got to do anything with us. Do you think it would work in the sci-fi game? David, what if we ran a fantasy game?"
This explains a lot about you.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just constantly generating stuff. Like, that's what I've just decided is that, that's one of my, everybody has strengths and weaknesses in their, their game mastering. And one of my strengths is that I am constantly generating things.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Kayla, question from Steven. Do you have a favorite character type, class, race, archetype, etc.? Do you have a favorite child, Kayla?
Oh, favorite character type. I've enjoyed a lot of different types, but I've got to say I really enjoy just playing a straight fighter some days. It's just so satisfying to just be able to take your sword, your halberd, whatever, and just wail on something some days.
Just hack and slash some goblins.
Oh, work is really stressful. I need to just pound some fictional make-believe enemies.
Yeah, some days you just need a hack and slash. Or, a lot of days after work. But yeah, probably the fighter. My favorite, I've played a couple different fighter types, but so far I've really enjoyed the champion.
It's all them crits.
It really makes it satisfying.
Random question, just real quickly. What are some of the character or classes and race combinations that you have played?
I have played, let's see here. I've played a cleric. I think I've played it was basically a life cleric. And then I've played Celestine for this podcast. I've played a ranger before.
It was a swarm ranger, right? Swarm keeper ranger.
That one was actually, so Steven will actually recognize this one. This was his campaign. But it was a Unearthed Arcana version, which they've tweaked slightly now. I can't remember what it is now, but it's the Underdark
The Gloomstalker?
Scout. The Gloomstalker.
Yeah.
They've changed the rules on it, but man, oh man, she did damage. Oh, she did damage. Oh, I loved her. I don't think I've done a rogue. I have.
I mean, you did for like a one shot, but
I'm not counting. I don't think I'm counting one shots per se, because there wasn't a lot of playing. It was like literally one night. So, man, I need a list of all the different types now. I did an illusion wizard. That's right. That was the other one. Yep. I think those are the main ones. Yeah, so just a handful, actually. So, Ashley, I've got a question for you. Speaking of Dice Dragons earlier, you post weekly pictures showing off your dice. That's on Twitter. So how many sets do you currently own?
Boy, are you guys ready for this number?
No.
Wait, can we guess?
Yeah, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah,
I'm gonna guess 160.
Okay.
Ooh, I was gonna guess like 65, but now that sounds really low. But we'll go with 65 sets.
Okay.
Yeah, that was again. It was like
Corn
sets.
can't guess. I already
I
told
can't
her the
guess.
answer.
She already told me.
Gosh, people are guessing so high. I'm gonna go with 130. This is a total spitball though, because I'm just basing it off of what other people are guessing.
Okay, so we got 130, 65, and then 165.
Yes.
265.
Okay.
Wow.
We were all lowballed.
Mhm.
Yeah. And just so you have an idea, as of oh gosh, so I think it was end of 2022, I had maybe like 215 sets. So within the span of a year, I've acquired like 50 more.
So I'm sensing the bulk may have come during COVID.
I mean, it definitely started in COVID. Okay, so here's the backstory a little bit. Young Ashlyn at the ripe age of 20-something, starting D&D for the first time, and it was like, oh yeah, this is cool. And eventually bought her first set of dice, and she's like, this will be enough, it's fine. And then got a second set from a dice gift exchange thing that our group did. I was like, oh, this is cool. I'll now have like 2 dice to roll advantage or disadvantage. And then just slowly acquired some here or there because they looked pretty on Amazon. It's like, yeah, they're not too expensive. And then January of 2020, so right before COVID actually hit in the United States, because that's where we're based out of, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go full Dice Dragon. I'm just going to start collecting like crazy, and I'm going to create these cute boards that I'm going to put on my wall and like have cute little nerdy sayings or pictures on them, and I'm just going to put my dice in jars with magnets on them, and then they'll be able to stick on these walls, these magnet boards. And so I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I started collecting dice from January of 2020. And yes, COVID helped a lot because there were a lot of Kickstarters that started coming out around then that were especially geared towards dice collectors and like, hey, we have these dice Kickstarters. I backed so many. It was bad. A good portion of my dice especially came from this one Kickstarter that was called Mystery Dice. This was made by a gentleman who runs a company called Gatekeeper Gaming, and he had like this really cool Kickstarter where it was like based on the number of people backing it or the amount of dollars pledged, then he would release an additional set of mystery dice. And so like you didn't know what sets you were gonna get, and I was like, well, I can't miss out on this. I have to get one of everything. That definitely broke any seal that may have been my self-containment.
So to be fair, nobody expected this mystery box of dice to actually like take off as much as it did. Ashley and I both backed it, and we expected, maybe 12, 13, 15 sets maybe. It was 57 plus
Holy
one.
cow.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was
So-
50 sets and then 7 plus an 8th weirder set. What he was defining as not true sets.
Okay.
Wow.
I can see how that would really bulk out your collection.
Yeah, and then he had a second Kickstarter, and
Yeah.
I backed that too.
Yeah, Ashlyn, how many are coming in the mail?
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
I was waiting to ask that question. Is how
I
many
actually
are
know
you still
this
waiting
number
So we're at 265 currently
as,
in your
as
possession.
of today.
Mhm.
I have 73 more on the way.
on? Oh.
And a good chunk of that is the second Mystery Dice Kickstarter, because that hasn't come out yet.
So, here's the
Yes,
question.
Dice.
Do you have a favorite set?
Oh.
Asking about favorite
Okay.
children.
I have multiple favorites. Some I've already posted on Twitter. The ones I can name off the top of my head right now, there is the Legend of Zelda Fantastic Glass dice set from
I am
Crystal
very-
Maggie.
I'm very jealous of this set. I
Yeah,
really like Zelda.
Gorgeous.
That was one of the that was in the, within the first 10 or 15 dice sets I bought, and like one of my absolute favorites. I also really love this They're like this cherry blossom set that I got from an independent dice maker. Oh my gosh, why can't I remember? Ethereal Dice. That's her name.
Oh, yes.
They're super gorgeous. I love them so much. And oh gosh, I have more, but I can't think of them right now, and I don't have my spreadsheet in front of me.
That's okay.
I have a spreadsheet tracking all of my dice, if you weren't aware.
That does move you into nerd territory. Sorry to tell you.
Oh, I've already accepted I was a nerd.
Yeah. Nobody here is not.
Ashlyn is
true.
also a spreadsheet goblin.
Yes, I am.
Spreadsheet dragon, sorry.
Yeah, you can call me a goblin at that.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because people will refer to people as being like dice goblins. And I don't refer to myself as a dice goblin because usually dice goblins are like, give me dice, any dice. And I'm like, no, I want specific dice. And also, I don't want the thing. You didn't know this about me. I need full sets of dice. If I get individual dice, I actually get a little irked because I'm like, it's by itself. I don't have a set to go with it.
Never look at my dice bag.
I've just accepted this about other people, but for myself, like, there'll be Kickstarters and they're like, hey, we're going to give you bonus dice. I'm like, I mean, cool, but it's not a full set.
As she's saying this, she's gripping her claws.
And she looks like there's nails on a chalkboard as she, like, her face is twisting up in that way.
Just a bit. Like, I kid you not. There was one Kickstarter I backed where they're like, we're going to give you this free D20. And I really liked the D20. It was like a red, white, and green and meant to look like a Lucky Cat thing. And I was like, yeah, I really wish this could have been a full set because we didn't get to a stretch goal to unlock the full set. But I did get the D20 as a bonus item. And so they came out with the second Kickstarter, and I was like, I'm getting that Lucky Cat because they had that as an actual option to unlock. And so I got the Lucky Cat set just so I could complete the extra D20 that I already had.
Ashlyn definitely doesn't have a problem.
Nope.
Dice Anonymous.
It's not a problem. It's a hobby.
All right, so last question of the general to everyone from Sarah C. We actually had 2 Sarahs write in, so had to differentiate the Sarahs.
Makes sense.
Sarah C., what systems are you planning on playing in future episodes?
I can take this.
Okay.
Because I've got a couple plans in the works.
I mean, being the system dragon.
Systems. But definitely Pathfinder 2nd Edition. We've got some things in the works for that in process. I definitely want to do more Monster of the Week. I don't have specific plans on that yet, but it is in the queue. And I've been following a game that's in development. It's called DC-20.
Yes.
You can find content about that on YouTube by the Dungeon Coach. It's super cool. He comes from 5th edition homebrew background, and so he's kind of taking some things that he really likes about 5th edition as well as things inspired from Pathfinder, and then integrating that in kind of a from the ground up way to make things intuitive and cooperative, very like team focused and very customizable. It sounds like a lot of fun, and I think it would fit our group, and we could do some cool stuff with it. But we have to wait for it to finish development so that we can do some more play with it.
It's true. Another thing that we are releasing in a few weeks, is a World of Darkness mashup game that David ran.
It uses the World of Darkness rules, but
That's what we mean.
it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was
The
like,
World of Darkness
a World of
system
Darkness
ish.
game?
Yeah, World of Darkness ish.
No.
But it's definitely something that we're really excited to share.
Yeah. Space Orcs. Those are coming.
You know, I just realized my character in that one kind of crits.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we could go on with this, but nah, I'm not going to say anything. We'll just cut that.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, I personally in the future would like to ride maybe a Candela Obscura or a Blades in the Dark mini campaign.
Yeah. I definitely want to do Blades in the Dark sometime.
Yeah.
I've got a sci-fi version of Blades in the Dark called Scum and Villainy that I'd love to check out sometime too.
Yeah. Now, don't hold us to any of these. These are just what we want to do. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we are constrained by lives outside of the podcast.
What? We don't have lives.
Which is why
Only podcast.
Which is why I haven't DM'd a game yet, guys.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
been like 3-ish years and I still haven't run a game.
We'll get you yet.
I know. I need to stop running 1.5 campaigns for my home games every week. Once that's off my plate, then I can handle it.
That's fair.
There you go. So let's move on to Hot Dog, Hoard of the Dragon Queen.
Some campaign-specific questions.
Yeah, these are campaign-specific questions. And let's roll. I will be asking the general questions, and then we'll go back to the roundtable thing.
Cool.
Everyone, is there anything about your character that didn't make it into the show that you want to talk about?
Characters that perished along the way.
Yeah, just something that maybe you didn't get to explore.
Specifically for Kurt, he died early.
Episode 8.
Yeah. But
So did that audio.
Yeah.
That too.
But I would have liked to have seen him reach level 3, because then his subclass would have kicked off, and it would have just gone away from the allusions to what his subclass was, and we would have actually been able to see some cool stuff, because he was a Path of the Beast barbarian, so he would have been doing kind of some like lycanthrope kind of style things with werebear. I think that, like, his parents his parents were like werebears or had that in their background and such. So it would have been cool to do some stuff with that. Also, it would have been nice for him to be able to participate in rescuing Jaden,
Right.
his cousin.
His cousin, yes.
His brother, cousin.
His brother.
I mean, they were basically like brothers growing up because
Right.
they spent so much time together.
So,
And along the same lines, like, that's the one thing that I'm sad we didn't get to delve into more, because Izzy knew Kurt growing up, because Izzy was so involved with the Prazios,
Yeah.
who Jaden is the oldest son. Well, the only son, but the oldest child. And so there was going to be a lot more interactions, like maybe like opportunities for memories or things between Izzy and Kurt. And we didn't really have those planned. We had them like loose ideas of what we were thinking of, but I felt like we were going to develop them more as the game went on, and we just didn't get that opportunity. So that's a little sad, but it's the nature of the game.
yeah, it would have been cool to do some like flashbacks or things.
Exactly, yeah.
Because Kurt definitely felt like Izzy was kind of like his younger sister or older sister. I don't know. We didn't figure that out. I don't know.
I mean, Izzy's like in her mid-20s, so I don't know how old Kurt was.
I don't remember. It was a while ago. Somewhere about there.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice for Wesley to like follow up more on the Fang of Agmarkree and then make it back to Buttercup, but such is the adventurer's life.
You destroyed my Princess Bride
Yeah.
references.
I don't know
not
if
intentionally.
I don't know if he destroyed it.
Yeah.
I did. It was me.
I blame Corin for everything.
David or Kayla, did you guys have anything?
No, I was actually really happy with Celestine. I think the thing that surprised me was when you pulled in Celestine's son.
Yeah.
yes.
that
I
good.
was not expecting to roleplay that. So that one threw me off. I was like, oh, that was just on paper. Well, now I have to figure out how I'm going to react to this.
Yeah, be a mom.
I know. Oh, great. Now I've got to channel mom energy, not warrior nun energy.
With Usarker, most of Usarker, and frequently how I build characters in general, so I've had a lot of experience with characters not getting to do something, and so frequently I design them as a character is a setting. It's a setting for, you set how I set how I role play it, and I set what's going on around them. And so goals sometimes develop, sometimes generate, but it's a lot more organic, I guess. I frequently don't show up with a lot of pre-established goals. I mean, sometimes I do, but in the case of Usarker, he was very much so. I knew the character and would periodically write new things for him. One of the things I really enjoyed was the dreams, for example. But there wasn't a lot that was left unsaid. In fact, in the case of Usarker, the more that was left unsaid, the better it fit the style of the character because it added a sense of mystery.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that we got from one of the listeners. Was there more to the dream kind of thing that was going on with Usarker? Somebody asked specifically, what was the deal with Usarker's dream thing? If you had a chance to explore that further, where would you have seen it going?
Yeah, that was from Sarah C as well.
So, with the dreams were a way I had. So, Usarker is a very cerebral character, and it can be very hard to play or to depict a cerebral character for an audience. This was, by way of example, there's a popular Netflix show at this time called The Witcher. It's based off of a series of books. Very little conversation goes on in those books because it's mostly the main character, Geralt, walking through something nasty and grunting. And so most of the dialogue in it is actually his own interpersonal monologue and inner thoughts that are creating this character. And so I remember when they were starting to set it up and how make this show, people were saying, how do you make this entertaining? Geralt doesn't say anything. He doesn't talk. The man doesn't talk a lot. And when he does, it's very gruff and unpleasant most of the time.
I mean, first of all, it's Henry Cavill, so not much needs to be said.
And so with Usarker, though, these dreams were an opportunity to share something with the audience about Usarker that was almost certainly never going to come up in normal play.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, and David came up with 2 of the dreams, right? 2 or 3 of the dreams?
First couple of dreams.
The first couple of dreams, right.
And then there was with every dream that you weren't involved in.
Yes, and I was only involved in one. And all he really gave me was his family's curse to die early. And so basically I just said, he mentioned something about his aunt being asleep and never waking up, not even sure if she's dead. So I kind of messed with that. And honestly, what really happened was Usarker unknowingly found his aunt who was trapped in that specific realm, just randomly in his dreams. And the thing that's supposedly cursed him and his family also found him. I did not have any much more than that. And if the campaign had gone on, David and I would have had to collaborate a lot more, because I was like, let's do a scary dream. And we did a scary dream.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How every DM improvs.
Yeah, pretty much.
Approve. Indeed. I approve.
Yeah, so I want to backtrack a little bit to anything about a character that didn't make it into the show that you want to talk about. I wanted to play Whiskers in combat.
Oh.
However, it just never came up. And honestly, it didn't make sense for it to come up by the way that things were going, but I was waiting to bring Whiskers into combat because I thought it would be fun. And there was a really high chance Whiskers also would have died. So Whiskers had plot armor as long as you guys didn't throw Whiskers into combat.
Would you have played her as an animal? Or, okay, didn't know if there were like super secret things that maybe she was actually a druid wild shaped.
No, she's a cat.
Wild shape forever into a cat.
Yeah.
No, the collar around the neck held spells. Celestina put spells in there,
okay.
But you guys never used them. So
Forgot.
You forgot. That's okay.
And I think Usarker had the collar at one point, so him and magic.
But yeah, that's what I wished I could have done, but it didn't make sense by the end of it. So that's okay.
Since we're talking about Whiskers, so we were all sitting around a campfire. It's really dark. We were all asleep except for
I think Wesley was on watch.
Yeah.
Wesley was on watch. And then Wesley heard a noise, turned around, threw a spell, and there was a little cat there. That was when we first found Whiskers. And there was a question that's been in the back of mine and David's minds ever since then, because you had such a look on your face when that happened.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting here going, okay, what are the odds that Andrew actually hit the cat?
Okay, so I actually had to go back and re-listen to this because I wasn't quite sure how it had panned out. Whiskers had shown up earlier that morning. You guys had found it eating some jerky in the covered wagon.
Oh, that's right.
And then had taken liking to Wesley. So when Wesley did his perception check, He did well enough to know that something was out there, but didn't quite do well enough to see because he just couldn't see out into the dark. So when he turned around and he did Blade Ward or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It wasn't Blade Ward because that doesn't hurt things.
It was
it was a circle of blades.
Mm-hmm.
He turned into a living blender for a moment with a cat nearby.
He did. So, I think I need to explain this scene. So no, Whiskers actually did just barely make the save, so there was no damage to Whiskers. However, Whiskers did actually have a few more hit points than your average cat. It was like 10, maybe 12 hit points.
It's a hefty cat.
It was a hefty cat. The face I made, which to our listeners they couldn't quite see, it was an intelligence check for the bard.
Oh, who was around there?
Okay.
So what had happened was Ander had cast this spell, and at the same time the bard's like, "Whoa, hold on, what's going on?" and rolled really, really, really well for his hide check. So that's why when you look, that's why when Wesley looked around, he's like, "You don't see anything else," because he immediately hid.
Okay.
So you knew something was around. He hid, but the face I got was the really good hide check, but the bard rolled a natural 1 on the intelligence check of what was actually going on at the camp. That's why the bard suddenly made a break for it, because he didn't want to deal with a crazy and possibly drunk spellcaster who attacks cats. So that's what happened from the bard's perspective.
Sure.
But no, Whiskers did not actually fail the save. I made the face because it was like a nat 20 on the hide, but then a nat 1 on an intelligence check to figure out what was going on.
Just the irony of the dice.
It was just the irony of the dice, yes. But no, Whiskers actually made the save.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. One last question for everybody else. Who was your favorite NPC in Hot Dog?
I loved the orcs. The orcs were just amazing.
Of the orcs, I love Batula.
I loved Ula Larg.
Yes.
Well, Ula Larg
wasn't an
PC.
NPC.
That's why I didn't put Ula Larg, because she was played by David.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I loved Batula. I'm biased, but I love Jaden. Because
yes, you do.
I helped create him. Are you implying a Freudian slip there?
That was not a slip.
Am I Izzy? But I also really love Helgrin. Izzy probably doesn't like her, but she was hilarious.
So Helgrin came to mind. Mykoja.
I love Mykoja too.
I have totally blanked. The warlock.
Mina Keffler?
Mina, yes.
Mina Keffler.
Mina.
I love her as a character, but I loathe her.
You love to loathe her?
Yeah.
I love to loathe her.
Oh, good. I played a really loathsome character.
Speaking of loathsome characters, I would say mine, what was his name? Greg?
Yeah.
The really, really haughty spellcaster guy.
It was fun to bounce off of you with that one. You know, and I know that you've said before you have, it's challenging sometimes to play that. But it was fun to, bounce off of you, role-playing that with me. And you're just kind of bickering and bantering there.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact about Greg was inspiration for another character that's going to be showing up this year at some point.
So watch for a loathsome character.
A loathsome character, yep.
Whose name may or may not begin with Greg.
Yeah.
Anyways.
My favorite NPC was Helgrin. I even named my car after her.
Yes,
So
you
my
did.
car's name is Helgrin. On the dashboard it says Helgrin. So...
Is this related to Hildegard? Because I know that you've had a character named that too, or is this totally different?
No, Hildegard is someone totally different. But I like Hildegard von Bingen too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I named that character after. But anyways, did you have a question?
I was going to ask you what was up with the pigeon bears, because I need to know.
Okay. So the pigeon bears was a plot hook that never took. What actually happened in the background was that Mama Bear was eaten by a wyvern, and that was going to give you a clue. So if you guys had stayed around during the day, you would have seen the dead bear, the dead Mama Bear. And it would have given you clues that the cult was close enough for wyverns to hunt, which means you could have done some investigating around there, completely turned away from Burdusk and gone after the cult yourself.
Okay.
It was just another plot hook or piece of information about where the cult is and how close they are, and that's all that was.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out of order. Kayla, what was your inspiration for Celestine?
So Celestine actually has a couple of ideas that I got her from. So the first one is I had recently read a book called The Blacksmith's Queen. And in that book, the main character is a blacksmith character. And her sister, all they knew is that she left to become a nun. And so in the book, at one point they get into a fight. And they're like, oh, you need to hide because you're a nun. You can't do anything. And she's like, I got this. And she rips off her habit. And everyone's like, whoa, what? And so that was a major influence on me. I was like, I want to do that. And then the other one is actually from a character in Warhammer 40K. There is a group called the Sisters of Battle, and they have a Saint Celestine. And so I based it somewhat off of that as well.
Very cool.
Okay, so this one came from Steven. Andrew, you're the only player with a distinction of having a character die on the show. Until PARCS came out.
Yeah, I was like, I saw the question and I was like, hey, you
this is
got
sad.
that.
Yeah. Corin, why did you give me this one? Corin. Okay. Anyway, do you think there's some aspect of your playstyle and philosophy that tends to lead to character death?
Maybe I'm reckless.
I'm
Maybe
pretty
it's
sure.
Maybelline.
I'm pretty sure it's that chair.
Oh.
Because Andrew and I switched chairs and we've both lost 2 characters in that chair. So.
Well, we don't know Hannah's dead. She's just lost.
Yeah, I don't
Forever.
In hell.
Maybe.
Sorry, in a sub-district of hell.
He has a different name. It is not hell.
No,
I know where she is.
It's hell adjacent.
I would like to point out that is a good point, Corin, because Avery got in the way. Avery was trying to help Hannah, and that's why Avery died.
And
So,
I was sitting in that chair.
Through no fault of my own, so it's the chair.
It's the chair.
Steven, we have
the
the
chair's
answer.
fault.
It's
Sorry,
the
Andrew,
chair.
you don't get to answer. It's the chair.
Okay. Well, the answer that I had, was that, we're adventurers and adventurers take risks. Like Kurt, he was pushing forward. He was running into danger. He was trying to save people and things and just got unlucky rolls. And Wesley he got unlucky. And either like Corn and I weren't on the same page about what the runes meant. I didn't totally get that. Even though it's sad that Wesley died, I felt very satisfied in the stinger of he had just told Usarker, like, if you hear a boom, you know what happens.
Yep, and he did.
But yeah, is that adventurers take risks and sometimes they pay off and sometimes you get blown up.
Literally.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
David, Usarker was from Baldur's Gate. Did he ever join the Watch, which is Baldur's Gate's police force? And what did he enjoy about living there?
One of the core premises that I went into with Usarker von Pride was that he adventures because he wants to be there. That was an important distinction because for me, I have to be able to answer the question of why are they there? And if they don't belong there anymore, I tend to retire characters. I don't hold on to characters forever. They walk off into the sunset for me. And so I retire them when that occurs, when the story no longer makes sense to have them in it. So when I was designing Usarker, one of the things that I did in fact say was that he did spend some time, with the Flaming Fist in the Watch, but it wasn't a very long stint because the Flaming Fist is really not about saving the day and doing heroics, and he did want to do heroics for the purpose of bringing honor and such to his family name.
Before he died?
Yeah, before he died.
Gotta have a legacy.
And so that's why he joined that, but then didn't stay very long. And then when he, learned from his uncle about some of the cult goings on, he said, this is an obvious evil and something that if I step into and engage with will bring honor and glory to the Von Pride name.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this one from Steven. Ashlyn. Izzy is the only character carried over from Hoard of the Dragon Queen to Hazelnut Valley. Did she drive everybody else off? Was there something specific you wanted to accomplish by continuing her story?
So, yes, I definitely felt like
Yes, she
Izzy's-
drove everyone off.
Yes. Apparently so. Next question. No, I'm just kidding.
No, there was definitely something I felt like Izzy's story wasn't complete. Her story wasn't finished. And so I had to finish telling her story. So unlike David, whose characters retire off to the sunset, mine is like, no, you have to continue playing me until my story is done. And so I had to make her fit the setting. I had to give her reasons for why she had to move to Hazelnut Valley and why Jaden would be there too. I didn't get to really explore Izzy's psyche, and that's something I really want to explore for her because she seems very happy-go-lucky, but we might see that's not actually always the case, and I want to delve more into that. So, and also obviously I want to have that slow burn friends to lovers trope with Jaden because I love that in fiction, and I wanted to be able to have that in our game. So yeah, that's why she's still around. Hope everyone doesn't hate that, I guess.
No, Izzy's great.
I have a follow-up question. So you said that some of this was related to exploring Izzy's psyche. Is that why Izzy is one of the more cerebral forms of fighter, the Echo Knight? I don't remember how you set that up in game, but it does give you somebody to bounce off of who is yourself in a certain way.
I definitely think that is something that has come up a little bit because she has asked Dora multiple times, like, hey, like, do we think this way? Do we really feel this way? Do we trust this thing? So yeah, it's definitely a way for her to be able to kind of give herself a self-reflection, but it gives her an actual physical thing to focus on so that she can actually look at herself from an outside perspective. So yeah, definitely something. I didn't build the character intending for that to happen, but it's definitely lent itself that direction.
Kayla, what was playing a character who had a family with kids different for you as a player?
Oof, that was really different. That because normally I play characters that what's your stereotypical trope? I have no parents. I have no siblings. I'm all alone in the world. Edgy, whatever. So playing not only an older character who is about 40, 50s, but also kind of more the mom in the group in a way, but also having kids was weird. It didn't come up until Corin, you actually pulled her son in. And so I actually had to change how I was reacting because it was like, whoa, wait. Because there's a different energy when you're, again, like the warrior nun of the party, and then there's a different energy when you're mom. And so I was like, at the time, didn't have any kids, and I was like, how do I play being a mom? Much less of a teenager / young adult. So it was a little awkward. We'll go with awkward.
I think you did
out.
phenomenal.
You
Oh,
did
good.
wonderfully.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think you brought in the mom energy good.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
And maybe there's some pretty decent overlap between the tough mom energy and warrior nun.
I don't
Yeah.
know enough moms who or warrior nuns to know the answer to that.
Well, fair. I still think Kayla's does a phenomenal job.
All right. That seems to be the end of our hot dog questions. Let's move over to PARCS.
Okay, so yeah, I'll be asking a couple general questions here. This one comes from Sarah I. So where did you all get the inspiration for your PARCS characters?
Doolahans have cool spine whips.
Ooh,
That was your whole inspiration for 7.
as in like the folklore.
That's literally the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Doolahans have cool spine whips. I should make a character about it.
Did 7 ever get to use a spine whip?
He used the leash,
Okay.
Oh no.
Yes.
and he had the spine whip at the end of Lake Muskogee. Spoilers if you've gotten there yet.
Yeah, I think I remember him having some sort of whip-like element.
Yep, he had it on his back.
For Val, the science gal, I definitely ripped off of Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Mhm.
'Cause had to. But additionally, like, I tried to base her character off of like the character archetype of like a child genius, someone who's intelligent but not actually wise to like things outside of their realm of influence kind of thing. And also, I just really wanted to play a more hyperactive character. But also something that can't remember if it's something that we mentioned in the episodes or not, but Val's full name, I purposely made her name Valerie because I wanted to name her AI Eerie, because Val and Eerie would make Valerie.
I never made that connection. Okay.
So I did it partly for that aspect, and also because Eerie kind of sounds spooky and what have you. So that'd be perfect for a Monster of the Week campaign.
And Siri.
and Siri. Yes, there is that aspect too. And also her last name was Tucker, which is a shout out to the character Dr. Show Tucker from FMA, Fullmetal Alchemist. And definitely meant to be used in ironic sense because
yes, you are Father of the Year.
That Tucker is definitely a not cool dude.
He is Father of the Year.
I hate you so much.
Yeah, I had to be like, okay, who's Tucker?
Edward.
The one who tried to, or
no spoilers for FMA.
We do not like Show Tucker. He bad guy.
Yeah.
He no good. So it's
Speaking
definitely meant
of
to be
monsters.
ironic that her name is Valerie Tucker. But yes, that's all my inspirations for Val.
With Martin was based off of a character that I played a handful of times, but only for extremely, extremely short periods of time, and therefore never really got to play. Martin's story was not finished, Ashlyn. There was more to play of him. And so he was in the closet.
Oh, good.
Scratching.
He hadn't gone to his sunset yet.
David, scrape the cardboard. David,
Please.
hey, pull me out. He comes from, he was designed from the old World of Darkness Demon, the Fallen setting. And so, this idea that you are a, demonic being, quote unquote, that is possessing a body in a very heaven and hell literal sense.
So a demon as in like a fallen angel becoming a demon.
Right. And so, Martin is, that was where the setting, drew him from. And so that was kind of the creation of that character. And, all of those tropes were things that I settled on as personality tropes that he had from that setting, and then it was just me interpreting them over to this setting and hamming it up and having fun. The Welcome to Kmart line and all that.
So Martin was actually a person and was still kind of there, but then the
spoilers.
Okay,
I will leave that a mystery.
Okay, cool. Then you take
unless you want an answer in this after the fact thing.
Okay, cool. So my character actually, I was looking through the playbooks, and for whatever reason, what was
the flake?
The flake really stood out to me, and it's like, oh, a conspiracy theorist would be so much fun. And then as I was making her, it came out. April O'Neil from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
That's
the
right.
reporter, that came to mind.
Okay.
So that's why she's Avery O'Grady instead of April O'Neil.
That makes
okay.
sense.
And then I just really dug into the conspiracy theorist portion of it, and I had so much fun.
I love Avery. I'm sad she died.
I know. There'll never be another conspiracy theorist like that. But yeah, so April O'Neil.
Cool. Inspiration for characters in PARCS, but the monster, I can do some inspiration there. The Silencer was very heavily inspired by an episode from a podcast called Camp Monsters. Highly recommended if you like cryptids and if you like campfire stories. It's really good. But their very first episode on there is about the Bat Squatch. And in...
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I still can't believe I guessed that, and I had no idea.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about being able to play that off.
I'm so glad you did, because that was just amazing with the reveal later. I was like, wait.
It was like the second thing you guessed.
It's true.
Literally, okay, Andrew, literally all I did was I came into that session, I was like, oh wait, conspiracy theorist, we're going to Seattle or whatever.
Right.
What cryptids are up there? And so I just literally Googled it, and there was like 6 including like tree octopuses and
Mhm.
other things. And so Bat Squatch was on there, and so that one was just the really cool sounding one.
Yeah.
So I went with that.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, it's good. Next question that I've got for everyone. Do you all have a favorite NPC?
Yes. Mystery 1, Bailey was my favorite. Just the everything around Bailey. Mystery 2, Tony, the Australian guy.
For me, my favorite NPC is the door.
Ah, yes, the door.
Amazing. The door was great. From the first mystery, I loved Thor Thorson.
Mm-hmm.
He was great. And then for the second mystery, I actually really liked Ruth.
Okay.
I thought she was
Ruth
cool.
was great.
I really liked Ruth too. She was
she
good.
really also came in clutch to help Val to like get the warning going to evacuate the lake.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ruth. You're my new best friend.
I think my favorite NPC was actually the old people in Adventure 2.
Yeah.
I love the byplay between you and David when he was playing and just talking to your characters like, oh yeah, are you ready to pass on? And all
the
that.
old woman
Yes,
in the
the old
hotel
woman.
lounge.
The
one
old
he
guy.
killed?
Yeah, the one he killed, the old guy at the saloon. Yep.
Assisted. I assisted her.
And her grandson was busy flirting with the hotel clerk.
Yep.
All right. Yeah.
Wonder what happened to those two.
They drowned in
Anyways.
the lake. Or
Drowned?
Sorry, they were consumed by the lurker.
Yes.
Yes.
How about some individual questions from everybody?
I can start. Ashlyn, if you continue playing Val, how much character growth do you think she will see as being the sole remaining character of the original crew and being scarred by losing her companions?
So that's a really good question because I think that the events of the lurker Lake Muskogee definitely left its mark on Val. So she might be a little more mature the next time we see her. Or maybe, and it's just going to depend on how the next mystery runs, maybe she'll not show much of a change. She's going to repress some of that trauma. She might become overprotective of her new crew. Guess we'll have to see. So David, let me know if you don't want to answer this.
No, I'm fine answering this.
So Martin was a Grim Reaper of sorts. Can we know what led to him being possessed by such an entity? Was he originally human?
So, in the mythology that I was drawing him from, the mythology being the mythology of Demon the Fallen back in ye olden days. There, I don't know what they've done with it since, and I barely got to play the character in the first place. So I really don't know the mythology there. I just kind of vaguely remember, but Martin died at some point. His spirit passed on, and his body became home to this possessing entity.
Okay.
So Martin is dead. There is no Martin anymore there. He's not involved. However, this thing is wearing his body, and it has his memories. It can kind of act like him. In fact, it influences Martin's body influences this entity almost as much as this entity influences Martin's body.
Okay, that's cool.
And very spooky.
Right.
That is-
But Martin as a being, as a soul, has literally already passed on. He's gone. He's not in the picture. This thing is just, walking around in the body.
Just wearing the meat suit.
Right.
Very interesting. Okay.
Okay. Ander.
Yeah.
This is a question from Owen. What are your plans for more Parks episodes?
So I definitely want to do more. We have heard from your email, Owen. I appreciated that. That was very nice. And from people we've talked to, that people like Parks. And I think it's a fun system. I think the narrative style of Powered by the Apocalypse games really lend well to podcasts. And as far as specific plans, it's definitely in the pipeline. We're going to do more. I need to figure out what the next mystery is and the next monster that we're going to come up against. But I definitely want to develop more of the agency, the Park Service itself, to kind of define what our mythos is and define more things about it. I think there's a lot to explore, and I think that we can have a lot of fun with it.
If you don't mind, this gives me an opportunity to follow up with the next question. That being, so what inspired you to create PARCS? I mean, obviously it draws on strong inspiration from a lot of this concept of, paranormal activity research. But was there any other things like direct inspirations that you brought in for it?
So my inspiration for even running the game came from another podcast. It's The Crit Show. Valve's playbook, it was created by The Crit Show. So that's a cool thing there. But the keeper there is really good. I love his style, and he's very good at giving choices and things. And listening to his stuff got me really excited about it. And kind of their kickoff on that is that they also had kind of an agency that they were working through. It was the IPT, which is it's like a theater company, I think, something. But the building that it's based out of is actually, like, it's a real building in Indianapolis. But it's actually, like, secretly the headquarters of this paranormal investigation society kind of agency that takes care of things. And I thought that was really cool. And I thought it would be a fun thing to run with. I also really like cryptids. I think the cryptid stories are fun and cool. Again, influence from Camp Monsters and other Monster League podcasts. And I have not finished Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know it's an old show, but I'm slowly making my way through it on streaming. But definitely monster hunting shows like that. Kayla, did Avery have any other conspiracy theories? You were talking about conspiracy theories earlier that you weren't able to include in either mystery. If Avery had survived, what conspiracy theory would you have liked to see in the future PARCS mystery?
So a lot of them, she has a lot of conspiracy theories like floating around, but I generally started researching conspiracies when I found out like what the area was. So like the silencer was Pacific Northwest, and then the lurker was water based, and so anything water based was a go. So
I liked your Gyarados Pokemon one.
I love that. Let's not be ridiculous now, Pokemon. But I think one of the ones that would be really, really fun, I would have to work with Ander a little bit on it, but one in the back of Avery's mind is she firmly believes that politicians are lizard men.
Mm-hmm.
And
was it lizard men or was it vampires?
Was it?
Wait, I think
it was vampires.
Was it vampires?
Yeah, you were talking about that you're convinced that the president was a vampire.
That's right. Okay, it's been too long, but that one would have been an amazing one to delve into further, and obviously like going directly to the president, that would be an amazing one. Even like access to the president or something would have been dangerous for her, because she would have armed herself with garlic and crosses and everything. That would have been so much fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Corin, was there anything about Seven's history with PARCS that could show up in later mysteries?
Tons.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
Short
the
and
answer.
succinct.
That's the answer.
There is fuel for use.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andrew, this question comes from Steven. How do you prepare for your Monster of the Week investigations? Do you watch at least one episode of Buffy per episode you produce?
Not per episode, but I definitely try to listen to a bunch of Monster of the Week. I've definitely got a handful of shows that I like to listen to, and I will go for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I have yet to get into X-Files, but I think that one would probably fit really well for this kind of thing.
Love X-Files.
But Monster of the Week, actually, it does a really good job, like the book itself, of telling you how to prep a mystery. Is that you pick out your monster, figure out what it can do, figure out what its plan is, that it has a plan, and you figure out what's the worst possible scenario here. Like if the hunters never showed up, what would happen? And then you detail some steps of getting to that point. So you've got a little bit of a roadmap that you can follow if the players are kind of dilly-dallying around on other things, that you can like, hey, this thing happens. You're leaning towards the greater plan. And likely you might not interact with that plan because the hunters are going to intervene and they are going to do things and try and stop that plan and things. So you'll have to adjust that around. But it's a really good way to keep things on track and keep focused on it. I'm not always the best at it, but it's a really good formula to follow.
You do wonderfully.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, I enjoy it.
Also, I
The
use...
lurker scared the bejeebies out of me.
Oh, good.
Oh my.
Good.
Yes.
Also, I use a handy note-taking app or program called Obsidian. It's really useful for role-playing games and DMing. You kind of create almost a wiki links to connect different notes, and it's really good for tracking of NPCs and sessions. So I recommend it. It's worth taking a look at.
Corin, do you think Hannah is legitimately dead?
No, but she's most likely insane. Eldritch beings and monstrosities tend to do that to you.
She is going to come back as the BBEG.
I would love that.
Oh man.
Writing down notes.
So, how do you think the park's HR department would have explained her disappearance to her family?
They would definitely go with the bear attack, closed casket approach.
Yeah, closed casket, no casket.
We're sorry that your daughter has passed away from an unfortunate bear attack.
Yeah.
No, you cannot see her mangled body at the
Yeah.
funeral.
I mean, yeah, bear attack, closed casket. Don't open it.
And probably also like honors and things like that. She was killed in the line of duty. Doing such things.
The National Park Rangers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Line of duty. Yep.
I mean, that's why it was a bear attack, right?
Mhm.
Statistics
There
you've
were
never
no
thought
remains.
to look up how
No,
many
yeah.
park rangers, quote, die in the line of duty.
No, what was it in the first adventure? It was septic tank.
Yeah,
Oh,
the septic
yes.
tank. I always aim for the septic tank.
That she died in the line of duty. She didn't get out of the way of that, and that line of duty really got her.
No. Accurate.
All right, so moving on, we're going to ask some questions about Little Tomb of Horrors. Kayla, take it away.
Okay, so Little Tomb of Horrors. This was so much fun to play, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, question to everyone. There was a trap in there that you somehow did not trigger. This was I think it was an orange portal or something in the chapel.
Was that the one where the
Oh.
skeleton was pointing at?
Yes.
We didn't go that way.
Nope, you guys you were so close. So that trap would have changed your alignment to the
Okay.
exact opposite.
Hmm.
So I'm curious if any of you, Usarker, you too, even though the likelihood of you having actually gone in there is very low.
Very.
What are your thoughts if that had hit your character? Would you have been upset? Like, how would that have changed how you played?
I don't know if I would have been upset. Sophie, at the moment, if she knew what was going on, would probably have been upset. I probably would have just gloried in the chaos.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
you
what
would have
would
been
her-
chaotic.
I mean, she was definitely like, I don't know if I'd say lawful good, but she was definitely like neutral good. And so if she went like chaotic evil, like I can't imagine what a evil Sylphie who still acts like a innocent child would be like. It would definitely be a challenge to roleplay. She would probably be a lot more sinister and be like, well, my dear Wolfie-chan, go and hunt down that tunnel.
So would neutral good be turned to neutral evil? Because that's the exact opposite, right?
Yeah, technically. I mean, I would probably still lean into more of the like chaotic side.
Yeah, she was definitely. I think she was definitely more on the orderly side.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
just a tad, leaning wise.
like, I wouldn't say she was lawful good necessarily, because there were times where she was like, it's okay if my wolf dies.
Mhm.
That's true. That's true. But you
Neutral.
were very sad about it.
I was still very sad. She loves all of her wolf companion friends.
I think the Jeffs were so number one. I wouldn't have been upset.
Okay.
these are just fun, kind of crazy characters. And so I think that they leaned chaotic to begin with, and so I guess would have gone more lawful. So I'm not sure how I would have role played it, though.
I think Joffrey was kind of lawful.
Yeah.
So,
That's the trick with playing multiple characters.
That's true.
Maybe they were, so I think they were all kind of in the neutral spectrum.
You would just have to swap all
You
of
just
their
have to swap
personalities.
each of them.
Yeah.
Instead of
Oh.
swapping their alignments, you just swap their personalities.
Yeah, maybe that's what would happen.
No.
Joffrey would have gotten really like gung-ho,
Oh, that would be weird.
and Jeffany and Jeffers, thank you. It's been a minute. Is that they would have gotten a little bit different. But I think they might have. I think they lean maybe a little bit more good in like being willing to do things for other people, even though they're like focused on their own like clan, and their group. But so they might have gone like more selfish, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
Would Jeffany still have been obsessed with shiny trinkets?
Probably.
Okay.
But it just, with a different bent.
The manner of obtaining said
Mhm.
trinkets.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think for Usarker. So one of the things with Usarker is that I never actually laid out what his alignment
Sure.
is. Usarker is good aligned, and I think that in general he probably leans towards law. He favors. Okay, I will say that he seriously favors the results of law over the results of chaos.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that I would say that he actually is a lawful character. I mean, what do you guys think? Was Usarker lawful?
I don't know.
He's very rules oriented,
He
but
is
the problem
very-
is, yeah, it's really hard to say. I do have one thought. I think he would have killed Snarg again.
Oh yeah. Some things don't change.
Mm-hmm.
Your desire to kill certain people, and so going from a good alignment to a evil alignment, which is less morally restricted, the opportunity to kill Snarg, maybe not care about the consequences there, might have been way too tempting.
Mm-hmm. You would have been much more encouraging of Snarg going into traps, even though Snarg was already very willing to.
Mm-hmm.
But probably more like egging him on, like
He could have become
Snarg,
supportive of
go through
Snarg's destructive
that.
tendencies.
Oh no.
Which would be ironic because, of course, if Snarg went through the portal,
Snarg would have gone from chaotic evil to lawful good.
That would have been hilarious, though.
Oh, absolutely. Like,
Would he lose all of his religious powers then?
Would no longer get his power from Baal.
Yeah.
I mean, you can justify murder, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In his mind, you could. So he probably would be able to justify it.
I mean, that's an additions question as well as a group,
Mhm.
setting. Does a player get their stuff from a god?
He might change gods,
Mhm.
maybe. Just immediately switch to a different god. But if he had actually hit that trap, we would have to stop the recording early because I wouldn't stop laughing. Because when I read this question, I was dying because the only way I could see Snarg as being lawful good is being a carbon copy of Mr. Darcy from the 1998 BBC Pride and Prejudice miniseries.
That would be hilarious.
All he would be in total form.
That's it. We need to run to Little Dwarfs again. Everyone's
Everyone's the
their
opposite alignment. So yeah, I would have one had an excuse to watch the 1998 BBC version of Pride and Prejudice for the umpteenth time,
Mhm.
and two, I would have been Mr. Darcy. So
Oh, that's amazing.
Because you have to be Colin Firth.
I must be Colin Firth.
So, in the original Tomb of Horrors, so the whole purpose of Tomb of Horrors, because it was an original module from first edition, and the idea was that you weren't going in with like one character. You were going in with 10 character sheets.
I mean, I went in with 3.
That's true. It's true. But as you died, you would just throw that one away and pull up the next one, and you'd keep running it because this thing was supposed to grind the party, and you were supposed to see if you could get through it. But the purpose, like death, was inevitable. Like you were going to die.
I think it was like a tournament module or something like that. The point was to see how far you could get.
instead I made it more fun and everyone was resurrected every time you ran into death. But how do you think your character would have handled the actual comparison? Like actually being faced with death instead of knowing that you were going to come back and you could just heal with a patch and a magic needle.
I think that, so even though the Jeff clan was like very trap focused, is that I think they would have been even more so and very particular and careful. That being said, I think they would still be very dead.
Yes. How many rooms do you think they'd lost?
I don't know. Not many.
So I didn't really have an understanding of the original Tomb of Horrors, but if Sylvie was in the original tomb, I don't think she would have lasted long. She probably would have been one of the first to die. Or if not, if she saw everyone else dying first, then she would probably just be a puddle of nerves and emotions. She would just be rocking back and forth and wishing for the nightmare to end, and then something would come along and kill her, and that would be the end.
I'm not sure you could have motivated Usarker to go into the tomb in the original tomb.
Sure.
He just would have looked at that and said, "Why are we here?"
No, thank you.
That's true. So one of the other things about the Tomb of Horrors, the original, is if you read the intro, like people are coming here because they want the treasure, because there's a treasure. Acerak's tomb has treasure in it. And so you're coming here for the distinction and knowledge, like, oh, I'm going to get the treasure. So that is true. If you guys were running the actual first one, you guys wouldn't necessarily be trapped. So that's different. That is
Usarker
true.
would never be at the tomb. He's not after riches.
Right. His family has money. Now, more money is always a nice thing, but yeah, I mean, he just would have, looked at that thing, and once he realized just how awful and nasty it was, he would have been like, "Why are we here?"
It's like, this is a death trap. No, thank you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Snarg, I have two answers. If it's Chult based, he probably would last maybe 5 or 6 rooms.
It's like the Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah. If it's not Chult based, he would have died around the same time that he did. Actually, the first room that we went in actually did a cave in. He probably would have died there.
Yeah, okay.
We didn't even enter.
No.
We he would have just died right outside. So.
Okay, so why Chult based? Like, what would...
Well, he's from Chult.
He's from Chult, and he was like, he did go into tombs, and he did go into things like that. So he would be doing history checks. He would be doing things like that. He would be a lot more like, I know this place. I know how they run things here. But if it was just a normal tomb, he'd be like, oh yeah, sure, I totally know what I'm doing, and then immediately get slaughtered.
Okay, cool.
So how much did you have to change from the original Tomb of Horrors to create the little Tomb of Horrors?
So quite a bit. I kept most everything. So especially near the beginning, like all of the map layout, descriptions, that all was the same. I tweaked, obviously, the death mechanics, and I tweaked the circumstances that you were there. But the traps that were there, I changed, trap types, because I think originally it was poison, and that didn't make sense when you guys are teddy bears and you can't breathe.
Sure.
So I changed it to acid and honey traps and other things like that. But for the most part, especially for the beginning, I didn't change too much, although I think David would disagree. I feel like I didn't change that much, but I think Corin and David looked at it and they were like, no, you changed quite a bit.
The throne room, was that very different?
One. Oh, okay. So that's the latter half. The latter half of the sessions, that I changed immensely. Because at that point, I wasn't going to be able to get through all of it. And some of those traps, some of those traps are mean, guys. There's literally a room off of the throne room that if you go in there, or if you accidentally find a way into there, because there's a couple ways in there, you're just stuck. There's no way out. There is literally no way out. That's all it was.
That sounds about right for a death
You
trap.
just slowly die there?
Yeah, you just no. They give you some water, so it'll prolong your death.
Oh.
There's a random little fount of water. Yeah, so those ones I would have taken out because I was like, no, we're not doing that. but the throne room actually is completely laid out. There are so many traps in there. There are so many rooms. I think there were like shields and swords that were supposed to come in and bash you. So for the purpose of the game, because I was tying up and loose ends and trying to finish it up, and then a combination of other things going on, and so I ended up putting it as renovation.
Which was really funny.
Yeah.
I know it actually worked out really well.
Do you intend for us to go that way to the throne room?
Yes.
Okay.
So there are two paths you could have taken. There is actually down the spider webs. If you had continued down that path, then you would have reached the false ending. And I was actually going to put something in there. This was definitely a change, because in the original you're supposed to fight Acerak, and you disturbed him, and so you're gonna fight, and there's some treasures in there and whatnot. And so you can, it's all gimmicky, and it's not actually the end, but you would have, there are so many like very subtle clues like of how to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way I would have done it is you went to fought Acerak, you would have fought like I can't even remember what I was gonna put down there, but
Her Royal Highness.
there was something in there for Sylphie. There was a mouse. If Sylphie, the odds of Sylphie talking to the mouse were pretty high.
Yes, 100%.
And the mouse would have told you all about how, oh yeah, this area, hardly anyone goes down there. But if you want some really good food, if you go down this other passageway, that's where the really good food is. Because the mouse knows that Her Royal Highness has snacks in her actual...
the Cheeto dust.
The Cheeto dust.
Gotcha.
And so the mouse would have told you that there was a secret passageway that you needed to look for.
Okay.
But if you had, there was going to also be a scroll or something, or that would have returned, theoretically, been, oh, here, this will return you to your body. And then you would have woken up in completely different bodies. It just said you would return to a body. It didn't say what body you would have returned to.
Oh,
Nice.
I can't remember if I told you guys this at the last one, but the plan was that I would have had you guys roll, and I would have pulled from like the reincarnation table.
Okay, sure.
And that would have been your new bodies. And you would have all appeared somewhere on a random mountain or hillside somewhere, because Royal Highness doesn't care. She put you in a body. So you would have occupied bodies of someone from a previous run.
interesting.
And you would not have gone back to your own. And you would have had this cute little message that I came up with that was like, oh, so sorry that you just absolutely suck, but you found plan B. So enjoy your new bodies, and come see me again if you want to find your bodies.
Little to
Very
a Horse,
cool.
part 2.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was the plan if you guys went that way. But I'm really glad that you found Throne Room, because that one I had a lot more fun ending it that way.
Agreed.
Ashlyn, Sylphie was a character from another game, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about where Sylphie came from? Because like I wasn't part of that game, so I really
you
don't know.
actually weren't. Kayla and David were.
Shout out to
Actually,
King.
I was not.
I thought you came in at the end though.
No. So
Oh,
this
that's
was actually my intro to D&D.
Hadn't started playing with us yet, and it wasn't even a D&D game.
No,
It was a homebrew system.
Oh wait, okay, no, I did.
Amnesia Island.
Yes, I'm starting to remember now.
Yep. My brother was hosting because he played with you guys.
Yes.
So
I called his character Mr. Kidnapper.
oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That's
'Cause
right.
That was part of Sylphie's whole shtick. Was she was obsessed with making every animal like her friend. She wanted to be friends with all the animals.
Generally succeeded too.
Generally succeeded. That became her like special ability in the game. But then she also came up with nicknames for everyone in the party. So she brought that back with calling the Jeff Clan Sharp Teeth. Snarg as like Mr. Pain Turtle, although I think he was something else to
Sharp
begin
Teeth.
with.
He started with Sharp Teeth.
Sharp Teeth was always a Jeff Clan.
Oh, I lied.
I
Mr. Pain
think
Turtle.
it has something to do with like your turtle shell or something, but the amount of times you kept dying, Sylphie changed it to Pain Turtle. And then Usarker was Mr. Grim Reaper. And so Sylphie's always very polite, so she always adds like Miss or Mr. to these names usually. And so in our old home game, which this was like 7 or 8 years ago, and the only names I really remember were Mr. Kidnapper, which was your brother's
Half devil, something.
right, and it was like just a complete misunderstanding of the situation, because Sylphie woke up with amnesia, because all of the characters woke up with amnesia, just knowing their name and knowing that they were all half human, half something else. And she just assumed that this half demon had kidnapped everyone, and so she just called him Mr. Kidnapper, even though he was like one of the nicest guys at the party. And then David's character was actually a half siren.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And so he was playing this very like beautiful woman, and so she was known as Pretty Lady.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
And then I thought there was like a mama bird or something like that.
Half angel.
Something.
That may have been Mama Bird.
So I just had all these names, and that's part of where like the third person speak came in, because I introduced it in that home game, and so I had to bring it back for Little Tomb of Horrors. So yeah, that's a little bit about where Sylphie came from. Had to change her up. She was originally a half nymph, half human, so I had to turn her into like a half sea elf to fit for D&D 5e, since this was a totally different system. But yeah, and she was not originally a druid, but I made her a druid. So
Ander,
Yes.
are there only 3 Jeffs in the entire Jeff clan, or are there more? And were they a part of the Cult of the Dragon raids during Hot Dog?
So I think that the Jeff clan is a relatively, I'll say it's a medium-sized kobold clan. That there are definitely many kobolds in them. They're not the only ones. They are all named Jeff in various forms. Although there's probably like extra parts to that like we don't hear. There's like nuances,
Right.
In
Got some
Draconic.
umlauts and
The kobolds have 34 different versions of Jeff.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They do. And I think that they were probably part of the Cult of the Dragons raids, but they weren't in Greenest.
just
They
in a
were-
different way.
They were just elsewhere.
Nice.
Corin.
Yes.
Snarg mentioned a few times that he worshipped Baal, a god of murder, killing, and violence, within the tomb. However, within the tomb, death wasn't permanent. Did that impact how you roleplayed Snarg? And I wanted to add in another thing. I feel like this is a great example of mutual, interests and proclivities don't make friendship necessarily, because Usarker, commonly would invoke Baal in his swearing and oaths and everything else. So in a way, we were kindred spirits, I suppose.
Death, death, and murder. Death, murder, too. Yes.
But did your relationship with the god of killing impact anything in how you played Snarg in a place where death didn't mean anything or mean much?
Absolutely. And I think hopefully I portrayed it well in the last 3 or 4 episodes, because he had died so many times, and at that point he's just like, I'm just throwing myself in again. And he was so angry that he couldn't die and bask in the murderous god's evil glory. He was just so angry, and that's why he was so mopey at the last half.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did really affect him. He was very upset, and he only got to kill one thing. So that's okay though.
Kayla, in episode 4 of Little Tomb of Horrors, the party found what turned out to be gummy bears trapped in a room with a fire pit. Were they actually previous victims of Her Royal Highness, or was that a trap just set up by Her Royal Highness to further provoke the characters?
Okay, so this one was an interesting one. This is one where I did actually completely revamp it. But I guess, there were a lot of areas I did do a complete change and shift, so more than
this was
thinking.
also the episode I ironically was not there.
Right? And
Which
it was
is
for you, because it was gummy bears.
Backstory for our listeners, because they don't know this. When we do our sound checks every session, I have this little ditty that I say, and it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Gummy bears are chasing me. Red ones, blue ones, green ones too. A purple one just ate my shoe. Aw, shoot. That's the 3rd time this week.
She's been doing this for the last 3 years.
Yep. I change it up sometimes. But the fact that like you had these gummy bears and I wasn't there for that session.
I was so sad. So the way that came about, the way that it actually reads is that there's a door that you show up at, and you can't break the door down. You can't do anything. Like, it's just, but if you knock on it, like, you'll hear whispers, or you hear whispers on the other side. And so it's I forget what spell it is, but it's an auditory illusion, and it's just supposed to make you want to come in. And all you hear is whispers. Like, nothing intelligible, nothing, like, that's all it is in the book. And so I was like, that doesn't really make you want to come in, though. And so I was trying to find a way, and I was listening to some, I forget who it was on YouTube. There was a group who played it, and they switched it up and made it an actual voice that was calling for help. And so he made it like, oh yeah, I need help. I'm stuck on the side of the door. And it was still an auditory illusion. That was it. But so I changed it again even more. And I can't even, let's see. Oh yeah, because I was talking to my brother, and so these are teddy bears. And so he was asking if I was going to have gummy bears in there somewhere. Teddy bears, gummy bears.
Yeah.
And so I placed gummy bears on the other side. And the reason why one of them melted is because there's a lava trap in there.
Right.
And so it was supposed to like kind of incentivize you to like, oh no, there's something in there. We need to help them. And ironically, it was the red gummy bear that melted first. It made it look like it was blood. But,
right.
And by the time you guys got in there, they were all melted because it was really hot in there.
So were the gummy bears actually people, or they were just constructs?
It was just constructs.
Okay.
They were just constructs. So nothing
created purely by Her Royal Majesty to mess with us.
Yep.
Or sorry, Her Royal Highness.
Yep. That was all. They were just gummy bears that are gummy bear constructs.
Corin, at the end of the tomb, Her Royal Highness mentions a suggestion box to better improve the dungeon. Snarg took her up on the option. Do we know what he wrote down?
So it was mentioned in Hoard of the Dragon Queen when Snark shows up that he can't read. And he also can't write.
Did he draw a picture?
So what was on the paper didn't quite get finished because he got poofed before he could finish it. It was a crude drawing of him impaling Her Royal Highness on a shish kebab with sad-looking vegetables over an open flame.
Yep. Amazing.
So I know David and Kayla have to go soon. So I do have a question from Hazelnut Valley.
Yes.
Is that your characters are leaving or have left that. Are there things about Irithel and Mickey that you want to talk about? Anything that we haven't gotten to? Anything that you feel like that you want to share, that you want to talk about their background, or things that you like about them or whatever?
Things that you hope that they accomplish off screen.
So for Irithel, I really like where we were going with her quest line and trying to figure out what happened, or trying to get her justice. So I am really sad that I won't be able to see that one complete and finish. But
you will see it, the after effects of it.
That's true. Maybe you guys will find a random dead person with lots of cages in his house that are all set free.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Maybe you guys can pop in and out.
That is true. So I don't think I think I was pretty good with Irithel and trying to portray her. The challenging part for Irithel was I was trying to portray the fact that she had a bad leg, but managed to figure out how to use it to her advantage
in her combat.
And so
and you had inspiration for that character, right?
That one is from a video game. For which Dark Souls was it, David? Dark Souls 3. There is the Dancer of the Boreal Valley.
That's right.
And so
hence her last name.
Hence her last name. And so her story is actually kind of similar in that she was taken and she was for basically her beauty, and that so it had very similar ties to it, and I tweaked it a little bit for my purposes. But yeah, the trying to get that and trying to portray that without actually saying it was kind of difficult. Like, oh yeah, her twisted knee, but oh look, her unusual movements mean that she's very unusual, and that no one can figure out where she's going to go next. So kind of drunk
Cannot
monk,
predict her movements.
Yeah, kind of drunk monk, but I really didn't want to do drunk monk because like that is not the way. Like that, she's not drunk, but that kind of idea of the
I mean, I
movements.
definitely imagined her being kind of like wraith-like in her movements.
Yes, that's
and
exactly
being spooky.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I definitely got those vibes from Irithyll.
Yeah,
Cool.
if anyone wants to watch Dark Souls 3, if you look up the boss battle because she's one of the bosses, and so if you look up her boss battle, the haunting music, there's a video. I'll have to send it to you, Ashlyn and Corin. But there's a music theory on it because she's actually super difficult to fight because of her time signature for music.
Yeah, I remember you saying something like that before.
I can't remember what the time signature is, but most of the boss battle musics are like 3/4. And so it's really easy because you're like, oh, 1, 2, 3, and I can attack on 3 or on 4 or whatever. And so it's very easy to figure it out. I guess 3/4, you attack on 3. Anyway. But hers was like 5/7 or something like that. And so it's so off that it's like you're still thinking in 3/4, but if you listen to her music, it's more like a 5/7 beat. And so
if it was in 7/8, I'd be like, oh, I'm done.
And so anytime you try to go in, she's already blocking or moving or coming in for an attack. And so her being off, you have to hit her on like the odd beat. And so that was what I was going for, is that whole idea of, okay, you come in because you think you're coming in or because you think it's open, and nope, actually she's not. So
that's right.
Neat.
And her whole design, her music, it's all haunting and beautiful. So it just really spoke to me.
But did you have anything for Mickey?
Mickey
Is he
wants to
retired
make
off into the sunset following after Irithyll's revenge?
Mickey never retires. He just goes back in the closet for a little bit,
Okay.
where he then comes out with a new fresh coat of paint. This time he had fur.
Aha.
So, fuzzy paint this time. No, Mickey is actually very, very heavily based on a character who was a major antagonist in a number of campaigns I ran on my own and, such in other groups and settings. And he has since evolved out of the antagonist role and, become a permanent part of the toy box that I use, for when I want to play a lighthearted character that doesn't, really care so much about the consequences of their action.
Cool.
So Mickey will be seen again in some way, shape, or form.
Well, thank you all for listening to our first Fireside Chat / Q&A session. And thank you all for providing your answers and coming up with questions.
Yeah, thanks. This was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see you when you see you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.